The rolling plains of the Kansas Speedway is the next stop on the Solstice train. Its sister track, Chicagoland Speedway, produced an amazing race one season ago, which resulted in then title favorite Michael Frisch grenading the engine early on, and Dylan Poteet surviving the calamity to claim a win in the Windy City. We arrive in the heart of America for round 10 of the Solstice ProLine Cup Series season, as it's just me, Josh Mertz, up in the commentary box of the Automotive Sports Network tonight, bringing you live flag-to-flag coverage. We have a one-man show, and let's get some stuff going. As we look into the schedule, we have one race after this before the playoffs, and the point standings are tightening up. We're going to blame Solstice Racing for not giving me a graphic as to be able to go over this. A couple things, though. No Michael Frisch tonight, so defending champion still having some issues in the 58, as Philip Kraus decided to show up, blitz the field, and not show up today in Kansas. Jeremy Stanley won in Texas on the 1.5-mile oval, but that track is different than Chicago and Kansas. And like we mentioned, Dylan Poteet did win in Chicagoland one season ago. So it's going to be fairly interesting. Two stages tonight. Lap 40 is the end of stage 1, and stage 2 is the finish at 103. As we're going to take a look here, so far in happy hour, drivers rolling off. Cole DeRozier, Jeremy Stanley, Nick Baker, Dylan Poteet. Poteet's been absent for the last couple of weeks. And 9 cars getting ready to take part here in Kansas City. No Dylan Smith either, as a lot of these guys raced on Tuesday and then decided to not make the second trip this week. If we take a look at the grid, Brandon Lambert on pole position over Joey Bailey. Second row of the grid is Erdman and Poteet. Then it's Wetz and Stanley, Rada, DeRozier, and Baker. So those are the 9 cars taking part here today. As so far in happy hour, you only have one car that has run a lap. Cole DeRozier, 1 minute 44.007. Clearly that is not an accurate lap time. We'll have to wait as he comes by again to run a 31.526. Jeremy Stanley runs a 30.249. Poteet a 30.538. As Baker goes by, 30.547. As round 10, as we motor on towards the playoffs, next week's going to be interesting. I will be in a car. Hopefully, Mr. Dylan Livengood, Brandon Nicholson, they will be back, along with Dylan Body, all having previous commitments, as the pair of them, Livengood and Nicholson, decided to go to a KISS concert on their farewell tour tonight in Denver. And Mr. Dylan Body, good for him, moving into his new home. So it's me, all by myself. So cut me some slack as doing all the fun stuff here tonight. Jeremy Stanley, currently first quickest in happy hour. We got about 5 minutes left to go. Let's see if he improves this time. He did not. 29.734 for car number 60. As Nick Baker in third. DeRozier's fourth quickest. Poteet 29.738 for the 31 car. As I'm going to check and see, while we have a moment here in happy hour, let's take a look and see if we can find what the point standings look like. As like I mentioned, they did not give me a graphic. Bailey comes in 31 points ahead of Wetz, as Wetz had a huge race a couple days ago in Dover. Stanley's third with 210 points, 204 for Lambert. No Poulin tonight. He has 197. No Frisch, no Dylan Smith, no Cosman. So it's the top 4, and then Erdman, who is 9th in points. So the Wisconsin native is going to get a huge points gain in Kansas if he doesn't end up in the fence. He was joking early on in the practice session where he's had the 4th fastest average qualifying, and he's ended up in the fence 3 times this season, and he has run 9 races. So a third of his races are him in the fence. There's about 3.5 minutes left in the happy hour session. Cars that have not run a lap time: Erdman, Rada, Lambert, Wetz. believe we're missing one car on here. As DeRozier, Baker, we only got about 4 cars on track. Just finishing up some laps, getting the last minute preparations. This pit lane is going to be a big deal because the pit lane speed starts at the yellow line. You go all the way down pit lane, and then it does not end at the cones. There's a scoring glitch on this track where it ends at the end of the grass. So let's try and get a camera shot of it here. We're going to pause the live feed right here. That is the end of the scoring loop for pit lane. And it's been mentioned in practice, but it's going to be interesting to see. We know racing drivers don't like to remember things very well. It's going to be interesting to see if they will respond to that. Baker's currently fastest at a 29.555, Poteet 29.593, and Jeremy Stanley 29.680. That's interesting. No Lambert, no Rada. Cody Erdman, Chris Wetz. Let's see if we can dial in Brandon Lambert, in-race reporter today, to help me out. Hey, Lambert, it's Josh up in the commentary box. You got me?
I do, sir.
As hopefully you're coming through. Thank you for helping me out here. What have you seen so far in practice through qualifying about this track? What have you seen throughout qualifying and practice through this track?
So far, seems to be throttle and draft going to be a big play in the night.
As not only 9 cars, there's a couple of cars not here. Like your teammate, for example. You need to make up a little bit of points, but from an outsider's point of view, Erdman is 9th in points. Do you think if he has a good run, he can make up a decent amount of points?
Oh, yeah, he can definitely make up a bunch of points. There's a couple people not here. I think he's got the biggest chance to be able to move. He really needs a good night. He hasn't had a top 5 all season, so if he can get a good run, he can get right back in the top 8 in points and not have to worry about Daytona.
All right, my friend. Well, I will let you finish up your happy hour program. Like I said, I appreciate you helping me out here, and I'll talk to you shortly.
Sounds good. Thanks.
As we forget to hit the radio key to Lambert, so I have to repeat myself. First time, like I said, first time doing this on a solo shot here. Is typically the NASA stuff's all done on a tape delay, so that's all done post-production. So we're just winging it. We're gonna figure it out, and hopefully we don't have that too bad of audio levels, but we'll get it ironed out for the next time that we're gonna have to do this. But hopefully we will be back on HVMP next week. You won't hear me, at least not on a regular basis. You'll hear Dylan Livingood, Dylan Body, Brandon Nicholson up here as we go to the Roval and close out the regular season of 2019B. As next week as well, NASA Rallycross here on the Automotive Sports Network. There's going to be 2 events for you, 2 race shows, one in Valkenswaard and one in Las Vegas. Expect those, I would say, about next Wednesday, next Thursday, here on the Automotive Sports Network on demand. So those should certainly be some fun races. As we finish up the last 10 seconds here in Happy Hour, fastest man is Nick Baker at a 29.555. Poteet, Stanley, and DeRozier, the only 4 cars to run times, as we begin to grid in Kansas. 2 race shows, one in Valkenswaard and one in Las Vegas. Expect as down pit lane, Lambert in the 46. First pit stall. Huge for the man from Alabama, the inaugural champion, or one of the inaugural champions, I should say, as we begin gridding here in Kansas.
Drivers,
on pole position,
to your cars.
Brandon Lambert in the 46 for Lambert Motorsport Technologies. We got Joey Bailey in the outside in the 51. Cody Erdman, Dylan Poteet, Chris Wetz, Jeremy Stanley. That's Cole DeRozier in the 23. And then there is Nick Baker in the 9. As we're missing one car on the grid, and it is Steve Rada in car number 3. as no radar on grid yet. This is interesting. He's still connected to the radio channel. I'm not sure. There he is. As we begin to rev up the engines here in Kansas City on the Automotive Sports Network.
Drivers, start your engines.
As Brandon Lambert is winless so far in the past season and a half that we've been doing this live coverage. He has had horrible luck. He was on an alternate pit strategy last week in Dover, or rather 2 days ago in Dover, as Joey Bailey won a couple weeks ago in Denver, actually last week. Looks like he's going to take the outside, Will Lambert. Cody Erdman winless. Poteet winless this season, but Poteet won in Chicagoland, like I mentioned in the opener. Chris Wetz won in Milwaukee and nearly won over his teammate a couple days ago in Dover, Delaware. Jeremy Stanley won in Texas, and then there's Cole DeRozier, Steve Rada, and Nick Baker, who won in Charlotte last season. As much as we love Baker, we know that was a strategy-filled race, and that's how the 9 was able to take the fight and take the win. As it's the penultimate round before the playoffs here in Solstice Racing. As glad you can join us here on the Automotive Sports Network. Like I mentioned, one-man show, so bear with us tonight. Pace car is off as we get ready for 103 laps around the 1.5 miles in Kansas City. Lambert and Bailey front row, green flag. Like 3 wide already for a moment, but Erdman pushed up the hill in the 52. And Poteet tries to take the fight now in the 31. Look towards the middle. Bailey washed up the corner there in the 51. As we go into turn number 3. Stanley, high, wide, and handsome on the outside in the 60. Outside of Poteet. But he can't get anything done. And Lambert leads at the end of the first lap. As Erdman, huge run on the inside in the 52. Poteet held off the 60 there for a second. Stanley on the outside trying to get it done. And Lambert already has 0.2 of a second over Erdman off of turn number 2. Lambert, Erdman, Poteet, side by side. Bailey with Stanley. Then Rada pokes his nose in. He's in 6th, trying to go 3 wide. And then the Milwaukee winner, Chris Wetz, as Erdman, huge run on the outside, off of turn 4, snuck to the inside, but he can't get it done. He did take a 10th off of Lambert's pace that last lap. As he's running the outside high line for the 52. Off of the corner, there was the 91 of Philip Kraus. I saw the hauler pull into the track, and I saw the entry blank registered, but the 91 crew elected not to race tonight. As obviously Kraus, a man of many commitments, the hauler was here, and he decided to call it off and not race today. So only 2 Area 52 cars, the 2 regular cars that came together in Indianapolis a couple weeks ago. Poteet got a huge run on the 52 of Erdman. Erdman has no room to go. He poked to the inside, and Poteet nearly had a date with the wall. And now Erdman to the inside in the 52, the man from Wisconsin. Can he clear Lambert? These two have been racing together for years, whether it's Solstice or NASA or anything in between, and Lambert holds the lead in the 46 by half a car length. Side by side looks like the start of the race. It's Bailey on the outside, Poteet on the inside. Poteet thought better of it. He's going to join the train on the outside. They're getting a little racy for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Bailey to the inside. Going to make it 3 wide going into turn 3. And Erdman on the outside. Bailey sends it into the corner. And the man who won in Denver last week is trying to go from 3rd to 1st. Will he lead the lap? No, Lambert does. I would say by, 0.02 of a second. And it's going to be interesting. We'll talk to Lambert when we get a second in the stage break, or maybe in a caution. But it looks like if these guys wind up the outside, they get a huge run off the corner to do a switchback. Now Lambert's going to test this. Can he get the run going into the corner on Bailey? You back up the entry, you get a huge run off the mid, and then you get off the corner, but Bailey pulls him car length. Make it maybe car length and a half, nearly 2. Gap is 1.5 tenths. But Lambert on the inside, huge run in the 46. He comes up the hill nearly into the 51 as Bailey didn't get a good run off the corner. Into turn 3. side by side for the lead. Erdman loves this because if he can find a way around, you know that he's going to take the fight. Erdman peeks to the outside. Lambert blocks the inside. And Bailey is going to lose the lead and second, and maybe going to fall to third. Erdman sends it in the corner, hits the apron, Lambert to the inside in the 46, and Erdman goes from first to third now as these four drivers are acting like it's the end of the race. 3 wide for second, Bailey in the middle, Poteet on the bottom, and Erdman on the outside. Erdman, heroic move, didn't work, and now Poteet, the winner from Chicagoland last season. Sporadic appearances this season, but you know he wants to get a win in that retro paint scheme designed by our very own Dylan Body. Lambert holds the lead. And if this pace continues up, I'm not going to have a voice in 100 laps. Lambert leads. Poteet second. Bailey third. Erdman in fourth. As side by side, Bailey and Poteet. That's for second. As remember, we're going to the end of lap number 40 for the end of stage 1. You do get some points involved. Onboard Lambert, you get both of the cars in the shot there with Bailey and with Poteet from high above. Bailey holds the second spot. Erdman gets a huge run off the corner to take the third spot, and Poteet goes from challenging for the lead back to fourth. And we'll have to talk to Lambert when we get a chance, because the aerodynamic package that we have, he did mention that draft was going to be a huge factor, and it is. Because we take a look at telemetry, 183, 184. They're pulling 2-3 mile an hour faster down the straightaway and into the corner. Bailey tries to take it again. He was not credited with leading that lap. Can he pull up in front of the 46 off a 2? No, he can't. Half a car length. Lambert's got the run on the outside, and he'll hold the lead. Side by side. Bailey, I think, might lead this lap this time at the line. Yes. So put the 51 through to the lead, but not for long, as Lambert's got a huge run on the outside in the 46. As Bailey washes up the hill, Lambert gets a huge run off the corner. You can see that one for miles. And now Lambert to the inside. And that's only lap 12. Bailey, Erdman, Poteet, Stanley and Rada side by side. This is for fifth. These guys are having a nice little battle. Wetz is running his own little race, and DeRozier and Baker. As Erdman poking his nose in here, trying to make it 3 wide for the lead. And he washes up the hill in the 52, has to get out of the throttle, got a little loose off the corner, and he's not going to be able to challenge the 46. Poteet's got a huge run on the inside now on the 31. And if you can get it to stick on the apron, you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Carl Edwards, 2008, I think, at the end of the race with him and Jimmy Johnson. That's what you got to do to get the car to stick. And Erdman to the inside for third. Bailey holds the lead. Lambert gets the run on the outside. These four cars are 1.3 seconds, or sorry, 1.5 seconds ahead of Rada in fifth. Poteet hits the wall in the 31. As Erdman on the outside, side by side, Poteet and Erdman. This is for third. Erdman comes off the wall, nearly into the 31. And Bailey still holds the lead. If we take a look at fastest laps, yes, fastest laps don't necessarily matter, but Bailey, 5.28, Lambert, 29.606. As Lambert to the inside now on the 51 of Bailey. As they're going to switch back this lead. This is going to be how the racing is going to be all evening long. Lambert will be credited with the lap. No, actually, let's take a look. Yes, by 1/100th of a second over Joey Bailey. As Wetz has gotten by Stanley and Rada. Now he's going to pull these cars in. He's 1.8 seconds off the lead. So if we take a look on board the 71, you'll notice that he's a decent distance away from the leaders. They're side by side for the lead once again. As Bailey holds the lead now, 1/100th of a second over Lambert. And Bailey continues to impress here in Solstice Racing. Now Erdman's starting to fade a little bit. I wonder if he burned the tires off. He was 0.2 of a second slower, as they're all 30.0, 30.1, 30.0, 30.1. So maybe he just didn't have a good lap that last lap, because he is 0.8 of a second off, as Bailey now starts to pull away. And as soon as I say that, the accordion back up, with Lambert and Poteet getting very close. As Poteet goes to the inside, tries to take the second spot, and he does for a moment on the 46. Erdman continues to fall, 30.235. I think he's burned his stuff off, and the race is now between these three cars. As Lambert peeked to the inside on the 31 of Poteet. Poteet blocked it for a moment. Bailey taking the downforce off of the 31. To the inside goes the X-side Ford over the Amoco Dodge, side by side at the line. It was 0.03 of a second. It's so hard to get it right, and I think I have a thought of Kentucky 2011 in the IndyCar Series. If you get a draft off the corner, you can try to defend, and you'll probably be successful. It's going to be very hard to pass, I think, on a last lap dash. So you almost want to get your pass done with 2 laps to go, but we are way far from the finish. Poteet to the lead in the 31. And he was strong in Chicago, and we know that the package carries over between mile-and-a-half tracks. So it should be no surprise that he's up front. And Bailey, very quick on the mile-and-a-halves as well. To the inside goes the 51 on the 31. Washes up the hill a little bit. It's very hard to stick it all the way on the bottom. You kind of wash up there. And Poteet holds the spot. .296, 30.200, and a 30.423. Erdman continues to fall, 30.394. He's now 1.3 seconds behind, double his gap, and then you find Jeremy Stanley. What happened to Wetz in the 71? Let's take a quick look and see if I can figure out what happened here with the Milwaukee winner. He got right side tires. Was there an incident? Unless he's just off his sequence. There's no explanation. So the 71 pits early. I'm not going to interrupt our in-race reporter here, so we'll just have to figure it out, as we don't get any insight like we normally do. As Bailey washes up the hill in the 51, side by side. This is for the race lead. Lambert goes to the outside. Bailey's nearly in the grass, comes up the hill, nearly into Poteet. No one really making a move. Lambert's getting a run cooked up on the outside behind Poteet. It's going to give him a bump because he has nowhere to go on the 31 going into turn 3. If you can wind up the outside, you can get a huge run. But it's more of a good luck trying to figure it out, really. As Poteet holds the lead, 0.2 of a second over Bailey, who is virtually tied at the line with Lambert for second. As Wetz is now 1 lap down, Erdman, I think, pitted as well. So I think there's some tire issues going on. Or these guys are just pushing him so hard. We're in lap 24. Erdman took 4 tires. Wetz only took 2. There was really no spin, but I think the tires are just eaten alive at this track. It's so difficult to do. We'll have to see, because there was no mention on the driver's scanner there about pitting or not. As Poteet, Bailey, Lambert, 3 Musketeers here. Stanley battling Rada. This is for 4th. 6th Baker. 7th DeRozier. 8th is Wetz off the lead lap, and 9th is Erdman, who just got 1 lap down, so he's a lap and a half down. It's going to be interesting to see when these guys pit, because I'm not too sure about the strategy. These guys are running 30.4, 30.4, 30.4, 3.7, 1.3, 3.3. So these guys are running pretty much the same lap times. Poteet is pitting this lap. So is Lambert. Jeremy Stanley pits as well. So Bailey's going to try and do the overcut on these guys. And this is going to be interesting because we know, and every week we mention this, oval racing, it's not really mentioned on the pit lane rotation. But with these guys battling so close together, we're going to have to see what they do. As the top 5 basically are in the pit lane, the only ones that are staying out, Baker, Wetz is already pitted, so Bailey's really the only one. Poteet, I think, is doing 4, so is Lambert. Where is Bailey? Bailey pits now, 1 lap later, trying to get the clean air on the 51. 45 miles an hour for the 51 of Joey Bailey. So the leaders have exited the pit lane now. They're side by side, the 46 and the 31. As Lambert spins it on the pit exit. And if something could go wrong every race, it does for Lambert. There's not going to be a caution. He was out of harm's way, but now we'll have to look at the 31 of Poteet. Because there's Bailey. Bailey's left sides, I think, are going up. They are. Unless Wetz is going to be the beneficiary of this. We'll have to see when it rotates around, because this, I think, has put Wetz maybe into the lead. We'll have to take a look. Because Poteet's going to go by the 51. He is going to be in the lead unless Wetz has performed some trickery on strategy or has Erdman performed some trickery on strategy. But like I mentioned, we'll have to wait. Wetz is up to 3rd according to the last lap scoring. And Wetz is in the lead. A great call for the Area 52 boys in the 71 camp, because that puts them in the lead, puts both of them 1-2 after a very early pit strategy. Erdman is now ahead of Poteet, but now what they'll have to be worried about is their tires are going to be more worn than the other two. But the stage break is coming up in 10 laps. So this was a brilliant move for Wetz because he just has to stay out for 10 laps. He can get the points and then pit. I think Bailey's got a black flag in the 51. I think that was a pit lane violation for the Denver winner because he was back down pit lane. So 2 of the guys that early favorites in this first stage are now, I believe, going to be midfield. As Poteet's going to go by the 51, so will Erdman. 30.071, 30.094 for Wetz. He's got an 8-second lead over this man, Dylan Poteet, and his teammate and team owner, Cody Erdman. 29.802, 29.808. They're 0.2 of a second faster, but they've got 8 laps to make up 8 seconds, and they're not a second a lap faster. You're just joining our coverage here on the Automotive Sports Network. We had to shift our Solstice ProLine coverage over here as Mr. Dylan Livingood, Brandon Nicholson had prior commitments, and so did Dylan Body. So it's a one-man show tonight. I do have that little chat pod open on the left side monitor so we can take a look and interact with you guys throughout this race today. As lap 33 of 107, we go to lap 40 for the end of stage number 1. Chris Wetz has aced this strategy on the first rotation. He pitted, I believe, I would say 5 laps earlier than the rest of the field. Took only right side tires, lapped much quicker, and was able to overcome a huge gap because he was about 7th. He was at least like 5 seconds behind, and he was able to take that fight to the race leader. Poteet is the only one out of the top 3 that have had really anything go right. Erdman was part of that, we'd call it a quartet, but then Erdman fell back. And Joey Bailey pit stop troubles on the commitment line, and Lambert spun on the exit of pit lane. So we're going to ride on board the 71, the rear bumper here. And we're going to take a look and see if we can see Poteet in the distance and ride on board for a moment. 4 to go in stage 1 for Chris Wetz. And I think Poteet is reeling him in, but he's not reeling him in at a fast margin. 30.249 for Poteet, 29.682. But the difference is that it's not like 2 days ago when Lambert was on the clutch, because Wetz only took rights. So he's trying to nurse his left side tires, but he's got Erdman behind him. Bailey's going to be the first car 1 lap down, the only car 1 lap down. So he's going to be back on the lead lap, but he's going to have to restart behind everybody else. 3 to go in stage 1. And if there's a man that can ace strategy in Solstice Racing, it's got to be Chris Wetz. 30.289. He gave up half a second there on Poteet. Bailey's coming on the inside of Erdman, but Bailey's off the lead lap, so he's giving him a headache here. And Poteet trying to make up all the ground he can in these 2 laps. Like I said, it's going to be a tall order. It's going to be near impossible. As Wetz, 30.358. Poteet, 29.8. Bailey, 29.5. If Bailey didn't have those commitment line violations, we would say, well, he can challenge him, but we can't really talk about that because that's a different reality where he didn't get those penalties. As off of turn 4, 1.5 miles until the end of stage 1. Wetz, white flag, stage 1. And we can't say that he's going to challenge for the championship without wins because he won in Milwaukee, but even then,
White flag.
we know that Chris Wetz can appear out of nowhere with strategy and take the lead. As Poteet hits the wall, he's racing Bailey like it's for a points position. He defends on Erdman into turn 3, and Erdman went under the white line. That's legal, but it puts him in the wall as Wetz wins stage 1. Poteet second, Erdman third. 4th is Lambert. 5th, Stanley. 6th, Rada. 7th, DeRozier. 8th, Baker. 9th, Bailey.
Caution's out. And a stage.
I hate to roast you on a live stream, Lambert, if you got me, but you're not supposed to spin on pit exit.
No, I got a little bit too much tire spin there and spun around.
I mean, you were kind of right in the beginning. You mentioned draft and everything. How crazy was that first stage from your vantage point?
It was really intense. My butt clenched a couple of times there. Me, Bailey, and Poteet kind of ran away there at the beginning, and it was pretty exciting, to say the least.
Were you guys all surprised up there in the driver scanner when Wetz aced the strategy and took the lead?
Yeah, we were all like, "Oh, what the heck?" That's Wetz. He is strategy king when it comes to these type of things. So.
All right, my friend, I'll let you pit. One quick question: we are going to 103, correct?
That is correct.
Cool. Thank you, sir. Good luck. As I didn't want to jinx his pit entry, looks like you overran the box there. Timing and scoring is going to list 107 laps. That does have built-in overtime in case we need it. Brandon Lambert, our in-race reporter, today to give me vital information because, like I mentioned, I'm by myself. Poteet leads off of pit lane. Lambert at the end of the grass will be second. 3rd, Stanley. 4th, Wetz. 5th is Rada. 6th, Bailey. 7th, Baker. 8th, DeRozier. 9th, Erdman. But remember, Bailey, I think, is going to be end of longest line. That timing line is a little messed up as there's a scoring error. You have to go to the end of the grass. But this will be a very frantic final stage. There's no cautions. No cautions in stage 1. Obviously, we do have a caution now. We'll have to see.
Going green here.
As Poteet, Lambert, Stanley, Wetz, Rada, Baker, DeRozier, Erdman, Bailey. That's your running order for round 10. Stage 2 about to begin. We're going to the end. 103 is the finish. Green flag. As Baker spins it on the restart off the front bumper of DeRozier. DeRozier's going to stop and let the 9 go ahead of him. We can't focus on this one, though. Side by side, Poteet and Lambert. They have gotten going again, but we have thrown the caution. So we had a caution-free first stage, and now we slow them back down to regroup them. As we're going to take a look and see on that restart. I'm obviously willing to bet that DeRozier nudged the 9 of Baker. Baker had some issues on the restart with tire spin. And oh, I think there was that. Well, I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if there was a control issue or the spotter called him clear, but Baker just came down into the 23 of DeRozier. As Lambert, Poteet, Stanley, Wetz, Rada, top 5. We'll see if anyone's going to pit. I would imagine. I would think that Solstice would run a short caution here, but I think they're going to do the whole process. And everyone's coming down, but maybe we'll see some strategy. Stanley does not pit, so put the 60 through. Rada in second. If I was Bailey, I would have not pitted. Well, that's my personal opinion. You figure you were off the lead lap. But even if, I mean, you're going to go through a heat cycle and it's going to put wear on the tires, even if it is one lap. So we'll have to see what Bailey does in the 51. As the right side's going up on a majority of these cars, Erdman's only getting left side tires. Will most of them only get right side tires? Erdman's going to take the lefts. Everyone else is going to take 4. Good strategy for the 52. You'll put him to 3rd. Lambert in 4th, as Erdman got a penalty on pit lane. So the strategy is irrelevant for the 52, commitment line violation. And it bites the 52, and he hasn't had any luck at all this season. From ending up in the fence to crashing with his teammate. His teammate was battling Poulin for the win in Indianapolis. I think we're going to be going green this time if we take a look through the field. Stanley and Rada on the front row.
Go green.
Lambert, Poteet, Wetz, Erdman, Bailey, DeRozier, Baker. I think we're going green this time. We did get confirmation. Field bunches up. Lap 46 of 103. Green flag. Rada spins the tires on the restart. That gives Stanley a good restart. Poteet in the 31 behind him. Into turn 1. As off of turn 2. Down the backstretch. Can Lambert make a run on the inside of Rada? One on the wall. Rada slides it off the corner and take the 3 out of it. He saved it, but take him out of the equation. Side by side by side, 3 rows back. Stanley on the outside of Poteet. Stanley doesn't get a good run. Poteet holds the lead. Gets a little loose off the corner, and Erdman to the inside, and Poteet leads lap 46. As Stanley winding it up on the outside, trying to get the run. Off of turn number 2. Erdman gets really close to him off the corner. Stanley's got nowhere to go, and Bailey to the inside of both of them to make it 3 wide, as Poteet nearly gets turned off the 52's front bumper, and Bailey, if he can hold this lead, it's so hard, the car pushes up in the middle of the corner, puts him to 2nd, Erdman to the inside. 4 wide at the start-finish line for a moment, and Poteet holds the lead. And the Superman move that put Cody Erdman battling for the lead, that was a great move by the 52. Stanley gets a run off the corner, but you got nowhere to go if the guy slides up in front of you. Bailey files in behind the 60. Multiple grooves here in Kansas. Now remember, they repaved this track not too long ago. Its sister track, Chicagoland, has not been repaved in quite some time. Poteet holds the lead. Side by side, the 52 and the 31. Stanley has fallen back a little bit. Bailey clears him, but expect the 60 to go underneath the 51 as the top 2 are battling. was a great race here in Kansas City. Penultimate race before the playoffs. Next week is the Roval, and then we begin the wild card of Daytona. Iowa, Trois Rivières, and Auto Club are those first round races. Pocono, Colorado Motorplex, and Atlanta. So we're going to start 12 cars down to 10, down to 5 for the final 3 rounds. We have to finish this, though, and we have to finish the Roval before we get to Daytona. And Poteet still holds the spot, the inside over Erdman, washes up off of turn 4. And at the line, I think it was Poteet. That's going to be too close to call. If they race like this, everyone's going to lose their minds. As Bailey in third. Poteet runs it up off of turn 2. Erdman going to get squeezed in the 52, and he loses the second spot. Poteet in the outside. Impressive run by the 31 so far today. Very sporadic campaign, but I guarantee you he probably rolled out that same car that he ran when he won, and that's why he's doing so well. As Lambert making a recovery, along with Stanley. Stanley had a great run on the restart, and it kind of fizzled out there. As you'll notice, Wett's 1.4 seconds back after that crazy strategy gets in those bonus points. As Baker, Rada, and DeRozier. Off of turn 4, Poteet still holds the lead over Bailey. Erdman in third, as Poteet has the run off the corner, and it blows my mind every single time because of the momentum that you carry. And if you go higher, you get more momentum. And Kansas is a very odd track for that. Poteet, Bailey, Erdman, if we update us, Lambert, Stanley, Wett's in 6th, Baker, Rada, and DeRozier. DeRozier had that huge hit in the happy hour session. They were able to fix that car up. As Bailey, terrible run through the corner, blocks Erdman basically in the process, and puts Poteet to 3rd. Lambert, huge run in the 46, and now we got a 5-man race here. As Lambert, we know he favors the high, wide, and handsome line off the corner. From high above, Stanley goes to the inside, following Erdman. Will he go even lower to take the spot? He won't. Bailey holds the lead. Lap 55 beginning. Just crossed halfway here in Kansas. Poteet loses the lead. He almost loses second, and Stanley wants to make sure he loses third. As Poteet, Erdman battling for second. Car length lead from Bailey to them. Then it's about 2, maybe car length and a half, stand corrected, from them to Stanley. Now about it's 2, and then Lambert's right there. Top 5 are within 0.4 of a second, and then Wett's is 1.1 behind. As off of turn 2, Poteet got a bad run, nearly hit the wall. Car length between him and Bailey, car length between him and Erdman. Make it half a car length between him and Erdman. As Stanley now trying to trail off the draft of the 52. These guys' lap times, they were 29.5s. They're 29.7. Let's see when they all refresh. 6.9, 6.5, 7.9, 6.76, and a 7.22. Wett's is 0.2 of a second slower than those guys. Huge run by Stanley on the outside in the 60. Around the outside of Erdman, clips the wall. And it's, from the looks of it, I haven't driven a stock car at Kansas in a while. But from the looks of it, you get so excited because you can carry the momentum around the corner. You pick up the throttle too early, and concrete wall, and you have a date, and it's not a good date. It's like when the date walks out, says I'm going to the bathroom, and you never see him again. That's what this track is. 10th and a half from Bailey to Poteet. Then it's another 10th and a half between Poteet and Erdman. Simple math says Erdman is 0.3 behind Bailey. And Bailey has had a hell of a race. He had the commitment line violation early on when he was leading. We watched the strategy rotation there. And then he was caught a lap down because of it, so he had to climb his way back up. And granted, it's only 9 cars, but still, 9 cars is much harder to pass than taking the lead and holding the lead. And Poteet takes the lead from Bailey, and now Bailey gets a run off the corner. Erdman's a car length back from Bailey. Bailey's going to back up the corner a little bit, get the run through the center and off of the corner. But he can't close it. Car length at the line at 0.07 of a second. So Stanley has fallen a little bit further back. Erdman third, Lambert fourth. Bailey now cuts low underneath of Poteet. He's got a huge run off the corner. If you can get the car to respond and slice down like Bailey has, that's what's going to win you the race. And these guys are basically just practicing their race-winning moves. Bailey blocks him in the 31, can't go that high. Poteet is going to try and take the lead again. Erdman says, no, I'm going to try, and 3 wide at the line. I think it was Bailey that last lap. No, it was Poteet, and Erdman tries to take the lead. But you're taking it in at such a shallow angle into turn 1 compared to Poteet, who's got a high, wide, and handsome line, but he still holds the second spot. But Bailey has the run supplied by Poteet's slipstream and the bump draft of the 46 of Lambert. Lambert drops down to help his manufacturer teammate. As Lambert has DeRozier, but no Dylan Smith. 3 wide at the line again, and Erdman holds the lead. And we picked a good race to hear me endlessly blab and hear nobody else, because there's consistent action. Lambert to the lead in the 46, and now it's a 5-man race again. Lambert on the outside in the 46, Monster Energy, the black car. Poteet in the 31, the white and black Excite car, 31. Bailey in the 51, and then Stanley in the 60. Erdman in the 52. And look, if we get a little bit farther back here, look who's joined us. Mr. Chris Wetz trying to make it a 6-man show. And the fact that everyone is this close after 63 laps boggles my mind. Lambert holds the lead. Here's what we'll do. We'll go on board with Wetz for a lap or so and just enjoy this action. Just kidding, because Wetz is going to do exactly what he just did a couple laps ago in the end of the stage. He's going to pit early. And that first stage was a test, because Wetz can say, I can pit, but I think they're going to have to pit a couple more times. If I'm looking at this pit strategy, you only get really 20 laps on a tank of gas or on a set of tires, so we're going to have to pit a couple more times, unless Wetz pulls something crazy out of the hat. As he's taken he's only taken 2 tires, I think. Lambert holds the lead, puts the 71 a lap down. And now, things are going to get interesting. Who is going to try and protect this spot? I couldn't really tell you, because these guys are focused on themselves. This is a perfect opportunity for Wetz, because he is going to have all this clean air, the fresh tires, the full fuel, and then everybody else is ignoring him. Or at least not thinking, because they're all battling themselves. Fastest lap so far is a 29.467 by this man, Joey Bailey. Half a tenth faster than this man, Dylan Poteet, who is 0.07 faster than this guy, Brandon Lambert. And then this guy, Erdman, is equal on pace with Lambert. Nobody's covering this strategy call. Wetz pits again. Let me take a look here. I think he got called for commitment lane violation. He did pass through for the 71. So everything I just told you has come unglued for the 71 team. He did only take right side tires. And now he's saying that race control didn't clear his black flag. As we caught Baker there on the tail end, sliding it off of turn 4. So we might have to take Wetz out of this unless there's a caution. So now everything that I told you about these guys ignoring him can be essentially true, because confirmation, pit lane violation on car number 71. It's a bummer for him, really. We know Wetz is great on strategy. For example, NASA Rallycross. Yeah, well, his strategy's kind of figured out, but he jokers on the last 2 laps of the race and surprises everyone. Because if it's a joker where you're faster, He's right there. You think he took his joker. He takes the 2 jokers, wins the race. I still haven't figured it out after 8 years. Lambert, Poteet, Bailey, Stanley, Erdman. Now, will we see any takers out of the top 5? Because Wets, unfortunately, can be written off here unless there's a caution. And because of the short field, I don't think there will be unless these guys get very close to the end and drive a little crazy. As Lambert holds the lead over Poteet. Poteet has such a strong run today in the 31. To the inside of the 46 goes the 31. Off of turn 4, Lambert holds the lead, 30.321. That refreshes to a 489, 436, 284. So Bailey's the fastest man out of the top 3, and it shows. He's got a huge run into turn number 1. As Baker and Rada have pitted. Baker on cue, unfortunately again, loops it in the 9 in front of Rada. Comes down the hill, does not get hit by the 9. He's front of the leaders! Will he move? No, he doesn't. And almost cautions out as Wet slides it off of turn 4. And that could have been big. That could have been really big. Thankfully it wasn't. As I think Wets has just realized his race might be out of his grasp. As we're going to take a slight look, if we can here, on the 9 of Nick Baker. So it looks like he just looped it. That's exactly what happened. You'll notice there's Rada. In the 3, there goes Rada. And here comes the field. Close calls between the Area 52 boys and Jeremy Stanley in the 60, and everyone comes down pit lane now, except for Wets. Wets is confused as to how these guys can apparently make it on one stop. But we'll have to wait. 5 cars still on the lead lap. No retirements. There's only 9 cars. No retirements so far. Right side's down. Left side's up. Looks like everyone's taking 4. Everyone's taking 4. Lambert will lead Bailey, looks like, over Poteet, Stanley, Erdman, Rada, DeRozier, Baker. And I want to see what Wets does, or what happens to Wets, really.
Going green here.
As we're doubling up here on lap 73. Lambert, Bailey, Poteet, Stanley, Erdman, Rada, DeRozier, Wets, and Baker. Not in that order, because Wets is still 1 lap down now. DeRozier and Baker are 2 laps down. We're getting close to the end. It's about 27 laps to go, 28 laps to go. Green flag. I stand corrected. It's going to be 29 to go. Into turn 1. Erdman gets a good run off of Stanley. At least he peeked to the outside. Thought better of it. Poteet slides it in the 31. Lambert to the inside of Bailey now. And Lambert off of the corner. Can he close it? No. Bailey half a car length. He's got that momentum. And that is going to be... I mean, that's really what the finish is going to come down to. It's going to be whoever can get the momentum off of the corner and hold the lead. We do have 1 retirement now. Nick Baker in the 9. I think he rolled the gearbox back when he spun there because his official retirement is gearbox. Timing scoring issue puts Steve Rada, technically, according to the timing, in the race lead, but that'll have to be fixed in a moment's time. As Bailey on track in the lead in the 51. Unless they've given everybody's laps back, no, they've fixed it. Rada is now ahead of Wetz. Wetz is 1 lap down. Poti in 6th, the last car on the lead lap, and DeRozier in the 23, 2 laps down. Just like we mentioned earlier on in the show, like we mentioned numerous times, the one-man show tonight, it's only me, our counterparts for HVMP, unable to make it today. So that's why we have shifted over to ASN. We'll be back live on HVMP next week. And don't forget about NASA Rallycross on, we're going to have a doubled up show for you on Thursday. We're going to have Valkenswaard and then Las Vegas before we go live at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Roval to close out the regular season of season 22. Now Bailey's going to pull this gap and he's going to hold this lead. But they do have to pit again, so then we'll have to wait and see what the strategy is going to unravel. Erdman has been close all night. He just ran his fastest lap of the race, which puts him still 3rd on the lap chart. Stanley, Rada, and Wetz. Wetz has a tall mountain to climb because he's not going to make it without pitting, and that's really the only chance that he would have. As Lambert getting hounded by the 52 of Erdman. But the number one key to potentially winning a race is not hitting the wall, and Erdman mounts it off the wall in the 52. Bailey loves this, though. He's half a second clear of these guys as they are battling for the second position. Now make it 3/4 of a second, 7.5 tenths. And this is going to be uncharted territory because now we're going to see, while they do have to pit, we're going to see if these guys can hold the spot. Can they hold the spot or can they take a position away? Because pit stop rotation is huge. Fresh tires, clean air, that will be huge as well. The gap is now lengthened. It is nearly 9 tenths of a second between Bailey and Erdman. As Erdman and Lambert, I mean, I can't pin one of them wanting to be second. They both want to be leading. But they both have been battling each other, and that's clearly, obviously, what Bailey's liking to see. Because when you got guys battling, you can't really run your fastest laps. The gap is now 9 tenths of a second exactly between Bailey and Erdman. Bailey 29.740, 29.767, 7.26. The gap was marginal. There was the 300s in it, but still a huge margin on an oval track to make up. A tenth can make a difference. Let's take a look here. 8.36, 7.92, so it's about half a tenth faster. Half a tenth exactly faster. And now we'll have to see if these two stablemates, manufacturer stablemates, can stay in line, maybe say, hey, we should work together and get us all evened out here. I wonder if just these guys are nursing their stuff, because we had in that first stage, we had at the beginning of the second stage, we had a 6-car race for this lead. And now, it's really just emerging that Bailey's pulling away. He was 2 tenths of a second faster. The gap is now 1 second even. This is the biggest gap that we've seen all day long. And this isn't the first time that we've seen this from Joy Bailey. Is the gap 1.16 now. 29.695 to an 8.64. This gap continues to lengthen. 1.23. And Erdman's on the clutch. I was just about to say, this is the point in the race where you've got to pull a strategy move. And I think what he's doing, obviously I have no communications aside from in-race reporter Lambert, who I only talk to in brief spurts. The 52's got to pull something. And what I'm thinking is he's on a clutch to reduce the amount of fuel he needs to take to then only take right side tires. That cuts the pit stop time in half. That's the gap that he's missing. But he also has to be careful, because if he clutches too much, he's going to lose too much, and that gap's going to be negligible. But we've seen Joey Bailey, love the guy to death, we've seen Joey Bailey shoot himself in the foot 3 times this season, at least, with pitting, on commitment line violations, on getting into pit lane, etc., etc. We saw it happen to Wetz. That's why Wetz is 1 lap down. Wetz had that strategy aced because he practiced it in the first stage, but then the commitment line violation killed it. But maybe we'll get a dark horse. Maybe Steve Rada, who I don't think is clutching. Lambert's on the clutch, so is Erdman. If I take a look, 30 flat, 30.5, 30.4, 30 flat. Can Rada make a difference here? The gap is now, it was 2.3 last lap, now 2.9. But I think we're going to run into a scenario like Dover where it's going to hinder him because, like Lambert was doing, you can only clutch so much. Lambert was giving up 2 seconds a lap. Granted, that track was a mile long, it's a mile and a half, it's a little bit bigger, but still, I would say half a second to a second is the same distance. Coming up on lap 90 for Joey Bailey, trying to make it 2 wins in a row in the same week. As I just said that statement and forgot we ran in Dover 2 days ago. Let's act like Dover didn't exist. Then it'd be 2 wins in a row. As 2 wins within a week, and then he won in NASA Rallycross. So realistically, out of the 4 races that we've covered, he's won 75% of them. So your Vegas odds for Joey Bailey, I'd bet on him. 30.2. Erdman, 30.1. So he has stopped clutching. I think he realized that's a terrible idea. And now he's going to have to just go after it. But you also got to be weary. Did he clutch and then realize it's a bad strategy call, and then realize, well, I'm going to kind of screw myself? Because the Toyota fuel mileage, we saw 2 days ago, Toyota fuel mileage is awful. After the race, I can't recall if Lambert was on air or not, but he mentioned, he said he was 5 laps to the good after clutching. So he was like, yeah, I'm going to get back on the throttle, whatever. Gassed it at normal pace, immediately went 2 laps to the bad. I think I have that the wrong way. I think it was 2 laps to the good, 5 laps to the bad. Anyway, the equation is the same. You clutched it. You thought, okay, I'm good on gas mileage. You get back on pace, and plot twist, you're not. And that has hindered the Toyotas. And I think the Dodges have that pretty well off. Lap times are a second off the fastest laps. It was a second exactly last lap. He ran a 30.569. Erdman, 30.3, and he starts to clutch again. 30.194. 2.22 seconds between him and Bailey. Wetz is now 2 laps down. I think Wetz is pitted, but like we mentioned, Wetz unfortunately kind of lit his race on fire
10 to go.
when he had that commitment line violation. 10 laps to go. And now Bailey begins to clutch. I don't think anybody's pitting. As we get closer and closer to the end, it's just a matter of who's going to last it on fuel. Lambert to the inside of Erdman, put him in second. Erdman ran a 31.1 that last lap. Lambert ran a 30 flat. Bailey ran a 30.7. This is going to turn out just like Charlotte. And can Lambert get redemption from 2 days ago? We'll have to see. 1.6 seconds. 31.5 to 30.1. 31.4 for Erdman. And Lambert is coming. As Lambert won the championship for Solstice Racing. Let me take a look. He won it once. It was season 5 in 2011. And there's no gap between him and Bailey. Remember, the timing and scoring is going to be off a little bit. It says lap 107. That's the built-in overtime. The checkered flag waves at lap 103, and Bailey's on the clutch. Lambert is not. But I think Lambert has realized that you have to make a huge amount of points up. And you just got to send it. We begin lap 97. 8 to go. And I think Lambert just clutched it too. And here comes Rada to pass the 52 of Erdman. It's too close to call. I think everyone's on the clutch. They are. Lambert's on the clutch. Bailey's on the clutch. Erdman's on the clutch. Rada's on the clutch. Just a matter of which fueler's getting paid the big bucks to put the fuel in the car correctly. 5 to go. Stand corrected, 6 to go. I'd like to think I can count on my fingers correctly. As Lambert, it's 2.5 tenths from him to Bailey. They're both on the clutch, so you can't really race it. You just have to make sure that you don't run out of fuel. Off of turn 4. 5 laps to go in Kansas City. 30.5, 30.5. You have to get down to the 100th. It was 5.38 to 5.00 between Bailey and Lambert. Gap is 0.3 of a second. As we close in. And what a wacky race that this has been. And I've said this on every HVMP broadcast. I've said it on an ASN broadcast for NASA. You do not need a huge amount of cars to have a good race. This race has had everything. Aside from a huge crash, but you don't need crashes, at least in my opinion. And if you do, that's the wrong opinion, but we'll shove that aside. You've had a pack race. You've had a guy pull away. You've had fuel mileage. And now you've got this. Who can make it? We're coming to 3 to go in Kansas City. And no, your sound is not off. You just can't hear the cars because they're clutching to make sure they have enough fuel. 3 to go for Lambert. Can he close the deal out? It's a 1/10 of a second from Lambert to Bailey. But he stretches it into the corner. They both have to be on the clutch. Erdman 5.8 seconds back. This is really what the race is. We're coming to 2 to go for Brandon Lambert. And what adversity can the defending champion overcome to sneak this victory away? While he was on the pole position, it was a crazy
Point of no
race.
return, 2 to go.
As you might have heard on race control, point of no return. 2 laps to go. And Bailey goes to the outside. Can he take the lead? They're both running on fumes. And Bailey can't close it. And Lambert now sneaks in behind. I think this is the point in time where you cannot trust your gauge. You just have to go for it. You run out, you run out. It is whatever. It's like 2011 Charlotte. White flag for Joey Bailey. Can he make it 2 wins in a week in Solstice Racing? Or will Lambert have anything to say about it? They're still on the clutch. So don't count Erdman. Don't count Rada if one of these guys run out. Off of turn 2, will we see a 2008 Carl Edwards and Jimmy Johnson scenario? I think Bailey might be out. Into turn number 3, Lambert to the lead. And the adversity that he's overcome, he finally comes out on top, and Lambert will win at Kansas City, snapping a huge winless streak for the veteran. As Bailey in second, I think they were both out at the line. Stanley is going to get by Erdman and Rada for third. As Erdman fourth.
That's it.
5th is Rada. 6th is Potiti runs out at the line. 7th, DeRozier. 8th, Wetz. And 9th is Nick Baker.
Member joined.
I was wondering when you would finally close it out, and Brandon Lambert, you did.
Holy hell.
How close were you guys on fuel?
We were about 2 laps short that last run. And it was really hard to save.
as it was so hard, for at least from my vantage point, to race and save fuel. Did Bailey run out, do you know, on the backstretch?
Yeah, Bailey ran out on the backstretch.
Are you out of fuel? Are you out of fuel
I
right now?
I'm out of fuel. Yes.
Wow. I mean, I'm bad at doing these interviews, but just take me through the whole race from your perspective. Obviously, you won, we know that, but I mean, what the ebb and flow? Describe that.
Uh, the flow of the race was pretty hectic. It was absolutely nuts at times. The package we've brought here this season is it's really racy with the lower horsepower and the higher drag and the higher downforce. Um, with that, um, it's harder to pull away, as you can see. People that stay in a group of 5 or 6 can really pull away from the rest of the field just by the draft. Just the extra 2 or 3 miles an hour down the front and backstretch really helps. But with that package, it makes you pucker up a couple of times um, going into corners because you'll have a guy that will get a massive run off turn 4, turn 2, and next thing you know, you're 3 wide going in turn 1. So, but the race though was absolutely incredible. I figured it was going to be a fuel mileage race once we got that caution. Um, I was looking at my fuel and I was thinking I was about 2 laps short. So I got up far enough to stay in front of everybody that I wanted to, and then I started to save a little bit. And then towards the end, about 10 laps to go, I decided I wanted to put pressure on Bailey to make him run out of fuel, and I think that pressure actually worked.
As you finally get a win, as obviously I had mentioned that earlier. There was Bailey, if my graphic, which I don't have, is correct. I think he's leading the points. So you finally get a win. Let me take a look and see. Obviously, these points are coming into. So, yeah, you were the only guy in the top 5 that didn't get a win. The next closest guy is defending champion Frisch. I know he wasn't here, but I mean, I have to ask your opinion as an outsider. What do you think about Frisch's championship defense just falling apart?
I think it's because of the new package, honestly. This package has allowed a lot of other different people to shine, and Frisch is just he's not hit the mark at a few places, but you can never count Frisch out at any place. There's a couple of tracks we got coming up in the playoffs that I know he's going to be really good at. Short tracks, um, tracks we run the 780 horsepower package instead of the 550. Um, but Frisch is a damn good racer, and he'll find a way to put himself probably in the final 5 come playoff time.
All right, my friend. Go celebrate with your team, and hopefully you'll carry this momentum into NASA on Tuesday. You got 2 opportunities for it.
Oh, I'm much looking forward to NASA. The new layout of Valkenswaard is going to be, I think, pretty ballin'. So,
Alrighty, my friend. Like I said, good win. I'll see you Tuesday.
thanks, man.
Contact.
I can't really sum it up other than what Lambert just did. I mean, we had a pack race, we had fuel mileage, we had kind of single file, I guess you'd call it. I mean, I think it was a great race. The fact of the matter that they were racing that frantically with that little amount of fuel just blows my mind. And we had a long-time veteran of the series be able to take the fight and take the win. As next week, like we had mentioned, we do head to Charlotte, North Carolina for the Roval. And that race is going to be absolutely amazing. The only driver to not win in the top 7-ish in points is defending champion Michael Frisch. But we hopefully will see the defending champion on the top step of the podium in a week's time as we go to Charlotte, North Carolina to close out the regular season. From all of us here at the Automotive Sports Network, as Dylan Livingood, Dylan Body, Brandon Nicholson. They may not be here, but I am Josh Mertz. We hope to see you next week in Charlotte. I'm going to be on track. It's going to be all Mr. Livingood and Mr. Body. But we hope you enjoyed today's coverage of Solstice ProLine on the Automotive Sports Network, and we will see you next week in Charlotte. But until then, so long, everyone.